Hello students, in this video I'm going to explain how to solve a quadratic equation by first completing the square and then using the square root method. I know that this is a quadratic equation because the highest degree is 2. In order to utilize the square root method, I have to have something being squared. This particular trinomial is not a perfect square trinomial, so I can't automatically factor it into something being squared. But what I can do is I can complete the square and then take the square root of the binomial that is being squared. In order to complete the square, the leading coefficient must be 1. So I can make that 1 by dividing every single term by 2. As long as I do it to both sides of the equation is still equivalent. So if I divide every single term by 2, I end up with x squared plus 2x minus 11 equals 0. My next step in completing the square is to determine a constant that I'll add to both sides of the equation that will make this side, the left-hand side, a perfect square trinomial. Now this negative 11 needs to go to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to both sides to get it to the other side. X squared plus 2x plus some constant equals a positive 11. In order to determine this constant, I simply take the coefficient of the middle term, which is 2, I divide it by 2, and then I square it. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 1 squared equals 1. So the constant, the number that I need to add to both sides of the equation, is going to be 1. On the left-hand side, I've created a perfect square trinomial that will factor into a binomial being squared. I simply take the square root of the first term, which is x, bring down the first operational sign, and the square root of the last term, which is 1, and I square it. On the right-hand side, I simply add my two numbers together, and I get 12. Now that I have something being squared, I can utilize the square root method by taking the square root of both sides. Now, whenever I take the square root of the right-hand side, I have to put a plus or minus there in front of it, because over here, whenever I square something, whether it's a positive or negative, it will become a positive value. The square root of something squared undoes the radical, so I just bring out the x plus 1. And on the right-hand side, I have to simplify the square root of 12. The square root of 12 could be written as the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. Well, the square root of 4 is 2. So the square root of 12 is equivalent to 2 times the square root of 3. Now to get the x by itself, I simply subtract 1 from both sides. And since these two terms are not like terms, I can't go further. This term has a radical of 3, and this term does not. Therefore, they're not like terms. I hope this video was helpful. Have a great day.